Good morning, guys. This is Carrie, and we are back this morning with my friend Larry Cotton, who shared with us a few weeks ago, I guess, about just some general basics on real estate, buying homes, all of the things that we did not know upon buying a home. And so Larry has graciously agreed to join us today. And we're going to do a two-part deal. This first section is really going to be about the process of some questions we can ask when looking for a realtor. Then we're going to move into a second part. I'm going to split this video in half. So the part 2 of this I'll put out in a few weeks. And it will be about the process of buying a house, kind of what kind of schedule we can look at. And he'll walk us through step by step on what that would be. So anyway, thanks, Larry, for joining us this morning.
I'm glad to be here. It's exciting. Love to help.
Well, before we got on, Larry had mentioned that he had this PDF that goes through some questions that we can ask when we're looking for a realtor. So maybe why don't we start there with Larry? You said there was a few that maybe stuck out to you, and then we will put a link to this PDF in the comments. I think you said there's 26 questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make sure and link that down in the comments so that people can have access to that.
So let's take a step back and just let me remind everybody, one of the things that you want to do as you're beginning the house buying or house selling process is to find someone that you really trust, that you have confidence will be a good advisor and be able to really come alongside and help. And the idea of being an agent is that I, as an agent, have your best interest in mind, and I'm going to help you navigate whatever process it is, but this being the process of buying and selling. And so you want to be able to identify that trusted advisor. And one of the things that my desire and goal is to be a help. When Carrie and I began talking about this idea, I just said, if anyone in any part of the country is looking for a realtor, I would love to help them in that process, because through professional networks and personal relationships and whatever, we are likely able to find a person that you can trust and rely on, and that'll do a good job for you. The other thing that helps immensely is that they're coming from a similar set of values or the worldview. And that is something that both my wife and I, as we did ministry for 35 years, have that mentality as we go into buying and selling and helping others do the same. One of the things that pops up often, and I think you probably have thought about it because many of you have been in ministry, but is it even biblical to own a home? You know, we're told in the scriptures that this is not our home, that we are citizens of heaven. How do you even reconcile that? And we also know that God is going to recreate this home. And we've been talking a lot in our family about heaven because of my current illness. And this is not our home. We can buy a home here, but it's really not anything permanent. And to work through that in your own heart and to have someone that is helping you purchase a home here so that you can exercise good stewardship, because that's another biblical principle, but to find something that you're not holding on to and not clinging to, because your home doesn't define you, even though we tend to put a lot of maybe our worth or our confidence in what kind of house we're living in. Those things don't matter at the end of the day. What God's word says is that those things pass away, and we're going to enjoy home with Jesus for a lot longer than we're going to live in any particular house here. So we want to go into it realizing that this is our but we also find something that fits our family and so that are on this PDF that you will have a link to. And when you look at this, you'll be able to go into more detail. But one of the categories would be before you find an agent, while you're just basically doing the search, you want to ask a couple of things. How long have you been a real estate agent? Some individuals have gotten into the business recently. Well, that's not terrible. I have only been in the business a little over 2 years. However, I've bought and sold homes over the past 35 years, and that experience plays into the 2 years that I've had my real estate license and been able to actually work directly with people, carrying out the contract process. So want to know how long they've been in it. And then second part to that maybe is, do they help with buyers and sellers? That's a good question, because it tells whether or not they're a specialist. And some agents are specialists with buyers or sellers, but it's nice to have an agent that understands both sides of the process.
Okay.
They understand what the seller is thinking when they're helping you as a buyer make a decision about a house. And so you want to know that. And then another aspect to that is, are they part-time or are they full-time in real estate? Because a lot of individuals will do real estate on a part-time basis, but they have another job or another career. And so clearly, if they're doing it full-time, they're going to be able to give you more focused attention, and that's what they are focused on. They're not juggling another job or another responsibility, and you will get more attention and help that way.
Okay.
So those are some things.
Now, Larry, are these questions that we can just email a real estate agent and ask outright, or is this kind of information that should be on a website?
That's a great question. I think that you could certainly email some of these. I probably wouldn't email somebody 26 questions, but you could ask a few of these or do so a little at a time. The other thing that you need to know that you have permission is to interview an agent, because you're making, in a sense, a decision to hire me, okay? And so I am not offended if you sat down on the phone or if we got coffee and you go, I'm looking at several agents. I have the names of several real estate people in the area, and these are the things that I am wanting to know about in order to find the best person that fits our family and our needs. And that's completely up and up and very helpful, because it'll actually cause that agent to think about what they're doing to help you, and they know that you're being thoughtful as you enter into this process.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good, because we basically picked the guy who returned our email. We didn't ask him any questions.
Yeah.
Because we just didn't know what questions to ask, or that we could ask, or that we should ask any of these questions. So these are really helpful.
A lot of people don't know. They just kind of think, well, this is who is out there and this is what I've got to work with. But if you think about it, you investigate when you're looking at a car or when you make a decision to purchase a product. We go to Amazon and we look at reviews. Well, you can do that similar process with a real estate agent. And there are a lot of people in the real estate business as agents, so you have a lot of choices. You don't have to just settle for one, or just go with, my uncle's friend is a real estate agent.
Right.
Well, that's great. It could be that that's the person because there's a personal connection, but there's no problem, and you should feel the freedom to just ask some of these questions and get to know them. So
Yeah, and this is something I feel like I have a lot of friends right now that have had to leave their countries because of COVID. And now they've been in America for 5 and 6 months living at a missions house. And they're really starting to ask the question about, well, we might just need to stay in the
yeah,
States. And, but the missions house is going to, they can't stay there indefinitely. And
yeah,
so even if they don't know for sure that they're going to need to settle in America, I feel like this kind of scouting out a real estate agent is something that they could do now
mm-hmm,
in preparation for, okay, now we need to pull the trigger and go ahead and
yeah,
start house hunting in August, but they can start asking those questions even now, potentially, right?
absolutely.
Okay.
And I would recommend that is actually a good thing to be thinking 2 to 3 months in advance. There's nothing wrong with that because you can do some real estate searches with different tools and you can begin to process the pros and cons of purchasing. We had a conversation this week with some of my team and our partners, and that is exactly what's happening, Carrie. COVID is driving decisions right now, certainly in lots of businesses and lots of issues around school and whatnot, but it is driving a lot of the real estate market right now because people are going, well, I'm going to keep my house and we're going to buy a second home because interest rates are so low. Or we are going to downsize because we're not sure we're going to keep our jobs and we don't know what COVID's going to do in the future. So we're going to take advantage of being able to sell a house right now. And even though we have to buy something else, we can buy something that we can live in for a longer time because it's more affordable. And, those scenarios are endless, but the COVID issue is driving a lot of real estate questions like you brought up. And I think for individuals that are here in the U.S., and they're not sure, they may have come back here because of COVID, or they're not sure what the future holds as far as their next assignment. One of the things to do is to find a trusted advisor agent that can give you a sense of what the market is in your area. So we're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and normally we would say if you can't live in a place for a couple of years, then you may not be able to come out, making any money on that investment. You might not be able to. On the other hand, if you break even, you are still in a better situation because you've paid money towards your mortgage and you've built equity in the house versus paying, renting. You're basically paying somebody else's mortgage, and there's nothing wrong with that. Well, we've in ministry at times, Diane and I leased a home or leased an apartment. That's totally fine. But if you're able to make the switch, you could possibly be making your own mortgage payment with the price that you're paying for rent, and you are building a little bit more equity and gaining from a stewardship standpoint. So those are great questions, and the best thing to do is to find a good agent that can process those options with you and help you. And one of the reasons we're trying to find a trusted agent is you're trying to find someone that's not just interested in selling you a home, but they're really interested in helping you think through your pathway for the next year, 2 years, 3, 5, whatever down the road.
Yeah, this is super helpful, Larry. And I know, like you said, we have this PDF with 26 questions that we'll link. And so I would encourage all of us to look through those questions, maybe even work through that process with a friend or your spouse or whatever, so that I think right now with COVID and the things that are happening in the world, it can feel like we're having to make decisions kind of on a dime. But it seems like
Yep.
finding a real estate agent doesn't have to be that if we are diligent about thinking through some of these questions, maybe even before we need them.
Yep. It
So
would be great. It would be great to look over this list before you ever meet with anyone. One of the other questions that popped up is, will I be working with you individually or with a team? And for me personally, I'm on a team. So if I'm helping you, I also have the backing and you have the insight of a team of realtors that we're processing and talking each week and sharpening each other. But also, if I have a question that I'm not sure about, I've got a way to go to a group of professionals that maybe have, combined tens and dozens of years of experience. So that would be one thing. Once you find an agent, you can ask them what will their availability be. And this is a good question even before you pick an agent. Are they going to be available to show you homes and what time of day? And are they going to be able to work with your schedule versus you trying to fit into their schedule? And this PDF has some other specific questions about, what is a CMA? What is closing costs? And just familiarizing yourself with some of the lingo of the real estate world, because some of it's confusing. And the thing that everyone should remember is you may purchase a home 5-6 times in your whole life. I'm doing 3 to 4 conversations or helping 3 or 4 clients every month. And so I'm going through this over and over and over, and I'm very familiar with the lingo and very familiar with the process. And there's always a new twist on every real estate transaction. There's something unique. And we're just living in this as agents. That's what we do. And so for you to be able to lean on somebody that's just familiar and experienced, and not to be shy about not remembering, what is closing costs? What's escrow? What's this, that? No problem. Ask those questions, because I don't expect those I'm working with to know all that stuff. I'm doing it every day. They're not. So that's important.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were strong friends with Google and YouTube during this process because we had no idea we had no clue what words he was sharing with us and saying to us. So
that's good.
Yeah, that's really good. Larry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we'll put this link out on there.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a good thought trigger and reminder of things that you would want to know in order to feel confident about who you're going to be working with.
Perfect. Larry, thanks so much for walking us through some of those questions, and then there's more questions in that PDF. So I appreciate it. Thanks so much.